Allah, you know I'm here to make it a pizza, 'cause that's my line.
He does it fine.
But all the things I need to make it a mixture are harder to find.
How do you find?
Mozzarella, macaroni, mushroom, and parmesan. Milanese, mortadella, onions, and parmesan.
Oh, what's a man?
Pizza, pizza, pizza in the air.
Lucy,
Yes, dear.
give me a cigarette, will you, hon?
Don't say cigarettes, say Philip Morris.
Oh? Is there any other kind?
Not for you, there isn't. Nothing but the best for Mr. Ricardo.
Thank you. Lucy, you're so good to me.
You see how easy it is to keep a man happy?
But Bruce Willis, you, my friend, are a total original. How is it possible to look like a Nazi and a Holocaust victim? You look like Sir Patrick Stewart if he operated a Ferris wheel.
Is an emergency Christmas Day warning to President Trump. You are either completely ignorant about the so-called vaccine gene therapy that you helped ram through with Operation Warp Speed, or you're one of the most evil men who has ever lived.
Not only do we have the D.C. jail, which is the D.C. gulag, but now we have Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police spying on members of Congress, spying on the legislative work that we do, spying on our staff, and spying on American citizens that want to come talk to their representatives.
At this point, we're living under corporate and medical fascism. This is tyranny. When do we get to use the guns? No, and I'm not, that's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
Now then, Dimitri, you know how we've always talked about the possibility of something going wrong with the bomb. The bomb, Dimitri. The hydrogen bomb. Well, now, what happened is one of our base commanders, he had a sort of, well, he went a little funny in the head. You know, just a little funny. And he went and did a silly thing. Well, I'll tell you what he did. He ordered his planes to attack your country. Well, let me finish, Dimitri. Let me finish, Dimitri. Well, listen, how do you think I feel about it? Can you imagine how I feel about it, Dimitri?
I mean, come on. Have you read the most recent list of banned books? Not counting the 750 whatever that in the one state where this guy, just every book he thinks of, turning it in. I mean, books that we all read.
Oh, but the banned books, yeah, it's always the same. I mean, there's the same ones over and over, and then there's always a few new ones too. That yeah.
Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah.
Catcher in the Rye. I think was of Mice and Men on there.
Probably.
Classic literature. There will
To
be
Kill a
absolutely no.
Mockingbird?
Yes, there will be absolutely no expanding of the minds if these people get their way. But apparently, these books that they're banning, sadly, it's through Amazon, but are topping the list.
Oh, of course. This is the thing that probably should be pointed out, that burning books does less than nothing, because the books exist and they're always going to exist. Mm-hmm. You're burning a copy that someone made on paper that you purchased. So your point really is, it's completely symbolic, obviously. I mean, there are people, I don't know what they think they're doing. Do they? Harry Potter is, all the Twilight series, anything that's against
vampires.
Anything that's occult. And even like Judy Blume, like in some like young adult, where there's gasp sexuality. Those are big. Yeah, it's.
Some things that are not appropriate have found their way into the classroom, and this I know from a friend who was a teacher who was not on the review committee. A whole crop of new people came in, and they were kind of tough to deal with. And I'm not even saying the teachers in this town, so let's clarify that first. And so when they were reading, and this is high school level, but in the middle of the point in this book, there were 2 or 3 pages, and it was, I mean, just raw sexuality and things that I don't even think I've seen in a movie.
Okay. What book was this again? Just let me get a pencil here. Okay.
Yeah, that I don't know, but I can find out for you.
Okay. Could you get the card catalog number for me?
Sure. They don't use those anymore, but I sure will. And so this person I know brought it to their principal and said, have you seen this book? And said, on these pages, principal read the book and was like, oh, no, they can't have that. And these were for sophomores. You know, now not saying that they don't know about these things, but they're not to be reading about it, something that's that graphic in the classroom.
Are we talking books in the curriculum or books in the school library? Because there's a big difference there.
In the curriculum.
Because people aren't stopping with
oh, I know.
curriculum.
No,
they want books removed from the schools, period.
Yeah. So these teachers had to stand in front of these 15 and 16-year-old kids. Like, well. So I believe that one did get pulled. And that should have. Because there wasn't enough, from what I understand, there wasn't enough true value in the story itself to even make those pages worth overlooking. Because you can't tear them out.
Did you say what book this is? I don't, or
no, I don't recall the name.
Don't recall.
But I said I can find out for you if you're that interested.
Well, no, someone might want to read it themselves. You're talking 15, 16-year-olds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sophomores.
My daughter's 16, and she's been exposed to stuff. Here's my opinion.
This was over. This is a teacher who is in our age range, who has taught all of these things for many years, and she said it was porn. It was written as just graphic porn. Rough.
Well, I'd have to see it myself. No, I would. Yeah. To be honest, because what one person calls porn isn't what another person calls porn. So I would have to see what it is.
But it's also, you have to think of it in the context of having 15 and 16-year-old kids reading it. Some of them have been exposed to this stuff from a couple of the things that I was told. Didn't want to go into the nasty, nasty, icky parts. That would have freaked me the heck out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
could you imagine me bringing a nasty book home to my father?
Well, see, we're living in a different Mouse. Art Spiegelman's Mouse, of course, is all tied into this. I knew Art Spiegelman a bit years ago. Had him at my bookstore do a little reading, and this was he's still pretty big, and especially right now he's back in the news. But he was a good get. I mean, he was like a pretty sought after guy, and he came to a party that we held at the bookstore, and we just said, hey, you want to do a little something with us? And he did. So very short story, but I think we were doing a slideshow or something. I'm not sure. For some reason, I was sitting with him, and he lit up a cigarette. The guy chain smoked, and he wouldn't have even entertained the notion of me telling him not to smoke, even though it's a bookstore and it's he's totally in a different world. So he lights up, and somebody in the audience says, oh my God, can we smoke? And I said, you know what? Smoking is limited to Pulitzer Prize winners. So if you can show me your Pulitzer, light up. And everybody shut up. So he's anyway. Yeah. So I'm sure you probably read Mouse, right? It's a very famous graphic novel about Art Spiegelman's family who perished lived during the Holocaust. And it's a graphic novel using mice to represent the Jews and cats represent the Nazis. It's not funny in any way. It's not comedic. It's the juxtaposition of the cartoon with this horrible, horrible story. Anyway, won the, as I said, won the Pulitzer Prize. You know, it's been in many printings, and you know, it's a must on everybody's, you know, top 10 graphic novels or possibly even novels. And yeah, so that's back in the news because it's problematic.
Take it out of the classroom. Best thing that's going to happen for it.
Right. And
I wonder, there have been in Texas and other places students standing up and speaking against all of these things and talking not only about kind of who they are and how some of these things will affect them personally because of their gender and taking these things out but the fact that they are trying to just limit what they're learning, limit their minds, the growth of their minds. I mean, they're just going to stifle empathy.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
These kids will get out and they will have no idea how to deal with anything because mommy and daddy can't stay with you forever.
Well, that's what they want. Anything that they feel challenges their parenting, which is almost by definition really, really awful. Of course, they have problems with anything that teaches you to be empathetic, as you said, or to accept gay people or people of a different shade of skin.
Different faith.
No, I mean, if you read those things or if you hear those things in school and then you come home, you're going to challenge mom and dad's take on things, and you can't have that.
It's just ridiculous. It is so far beyond ridiculous. And it is so sad that this little clique, and here's the thing, parents have always been able to be involved in education. There's the PTO, the parent-teacher conferences. They come home with the syllabus. The child brings the book home all the time. I used to read my son's books so that we could talk about them. So I knew what he was reading. If you're really that concerned and you're that involved, parents, read the books yourself.
It's
Figure
called
it out.
parenting.
When you get the reading list at the beginning of the year, talk to your local library. They have cards you can check out books. It's this crazy thing. You do have to return them. But at that point in time, you can read it before your child has ever set eyes on it. And if you truly have an issue with it, you can go to the teacher. You can go to the principal and say, can you explain what the purpose of this book? Why are my children expected to read this? It's been there the whole time. Nobody's been trying to pull the wool over your eyes for any reason at any time. It's just that you chose not to be involved. People.
Yeah, these people used to be trying to ban television shows and movies, you know, and violence and sex and all. I guess they just gave up on that stuff and they were like, let's just go back to the books. People don't care about books. We can get rid of those maybe. You know, right? Because it used to be, nobody complains about violence on TV now. And now there's, because of Netflix and because of streaming services, there's sex and violence on TV available to any child, basically. I mean, any child whose parents subscribe to any of those, you know. There's stuff on Netflix.
I don't like it.
Again, it's parenting. You don't just let your kids watch whatever they want to watch. There are too many choices. You step in and you curate for them, and you put them on the right path, and it's
in time.
It isn't even that it's hard.
Kenny would ask, "Oops, my son." I said his name. I don't usually say his name. Would ask questions about certain things, and video games that some of his friends were playing. No. Like, why? There will come a time when we will have the discussion then. Trust me, and I know this is frustrating right now for you, but it's not time. And everything that I said we would discuss, or a game he could play when he was old enough. We've had the discussions, and he's been able to play the games when he understood what it was. When he was ready.
You mean like violent games, like shoot 'em up games?
Yes. Yep. Because we do we become desensitized, and anybody who says we don't doesn't know what they're talking about. They don't.
Yeah, my kids were never, I don't think, interested in like in the violence. They were definitely, into video games like as much as the next kids, but I think they found like the smarter stuff, not the first person shooter or.
Yeah. He had a couple friends who were playing. Somebody played Mortal Kombat, but what's the other one? I don't know, but he was more
from what era?
It's
like 10 years ago. Or?
I think it has the name War in it, maybe. I don't know. He was more Minecraft.
World of Warcraft. Wow.
No.
Okay. That was
no. It was a straight up military, along the lines of Mortal Kombat. He was more a Minecraft and those kinds
Fortnite.
of things where, yes, where it's not human beings or not real, but you know what I'm trying to say here. Computer design looking like human kind of. No.
Yeah, well, there's a certain amount of creativity to it. It's not just passively, passively shooting. I don't know if you can passively shoot people, but
Well, so the trekkers in Canada,
oh yes,
one of our classmates and her new husband, they put this post out. Yeah, Canadian trekkers, yeah, we love you. Okay, now they're blocking roads. Products aren't being delivered. So if you don't have a product on the shelf, you've got a high demand product. You could sell 50, but you only have 10. What are you going to do to the price of those 10?
I think we blame Biden, don't we?
Even in Canada, yes, we do.
Of course.
And then they're blocking the streets. They're making a mess. I don't care Facebook removes page organizing DC convoy.
They find right, and I believe a judge just issued an injunction, which is going to allow the police to start arresting them.
I think
or ticketing them. I think something. I just read it. It's probably breaking news, but it won't be by the time you hear this.
But they're not
Broken
working.
News.
So these people aren't working.
Right.
They're burning fuel. Now, remember when there was that group of folks who pitched their tents and basically lived out, and they were messy. They didn't help themselves by leaving trash all over. But all these people were saying, they should be working. What are they doing? Just hanging out, making a mess, blah, 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 getting people. How is this different except you're in a great big truck blocking roads? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about Occupy Wall Street? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that about 5 years ago?
Yeah. That was, I live in the city where Occupy Wall Street was going on, and I can tell you the reports were, as you would guess, the media reports were quite skewed as to what was actually going on.
Nuh-uh.
They were, true, they were actually portrayed somewhat like the BLM rioters are portrayed. Yeah, they didn't smell so good, I'll put it that way. But hippies don't smell good. But they were, generally speaking, they were pretty well behaved. To be honest, anything like that, any movement like that, especially that type of movement where it's about sitting down and protesting, will attract people who just wanted to fuck off in the first place. They're not necessarily part of that movement. They're just like, oh, I'll join, cool. And so there's a lot of, as the movement builds, a lot of these people are just wasted people who really should have jobs or whatever, but they're not necessarily representative of the movement.
Yeah.
Whereas these truckers, I think they're all nuts, every one of them.
Find another job. Although we need truckers. But seriously, and that was...
There's probably a way around this supply chain.
A guy from the military had been on. He said, I got 17 shots before I could go do anything. I don't even know what they were. They told me I needed these shots. You stand in line, you get the shots.
Mm-hmm.
You're a child, you're going to school. Think about it. And it still happens. You have to show your child's vaccine records before they can go into school.
Of course.
And even a lot of daycares.
And the military, it's why it's just so absurd that anybody in the military would be like, I'm against the shot. When you go the first day, and not that I was in the military, but the first day you go in, they give you shots for everything. And they don't ask you, would you mind having these shots? They give you like 17 shots and boom, you're in. Shut up.
Yeah. Certain countries, if you want to travel, you have to get a myriad of vaccinations before you can go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're getting for malaria, for this, for that. You don't want the shot, you don't go. The end.
It's really weird how fast this flipped. I know the anti-vax people used to be coming at it from the left. They were hippy-dippy, new age, we shouldn't put unhealthy things in our bodies. And then somehow it became the lunatic right steals this.
Hold on. Ontario Premier warns fines of up to $100,000, up to 1 year in prison for blocking roads.
There you go.
You make it so I can't get to my job. Who are you helping? You're unhappy. Go find a big field.
Yeah.
Plus the companies that they're supposed to be moving their products. If it's your own truck, make your own mess, but make it off the city streets. If you are working for a company and you have their truck, I hope you got fired right away and they said bring the truck back. Or they sent somebody to pick it up and then charged that person whatever it cost. I don't know.
Lunacy.
How many days has this been going on? Protesters blocked key route between Detroit and Canada. And the censoring, yes, by the RNC, legitimate, what did they call
Legitimate
it?
political discourse is what they're calling the riots. Insurrection, the rest of the world calls it.
One officer died. Fanone has a heart attack, and they're beating him. And they play the thing where he's finally yelling, "I've got kids," hoping that that's going to change their minds, which it didn't. Over 140 officers injured. These people aren't doing anything, and now they're... And I revert back to, if you really thought they were your friends, why did you scurry off the floor like a bunch of little scared mice? Stand there, talk to your buddies. And now to the point where these people are, kind of flip-flopping and saying, no, it wasn't legitimate political whatever. It was a riot. Now, can you imagine if you went into, beyond breaking the glass and stealing things, the fact that they were defecating and smearing it and urinating in the hallways of the public building, which they did not put on phone news because my mother had never heard it.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if I went into this, which I wouldn't, or anyone went into their state capitol, which is a public building, and behaved in that same manner? How do you think that would work?
Well, people of what race?
True.
Yeah, there's
Ours.
different answers. Oh, it would be fine.
Yeah.
It'd be fine. It would be legitimate political discourse.
I think we would still be arrested if you just went in with a group of 5 years. Well, I suppose it also depends on the shirt you're wearing. If your T-shirt doesn't read much like theirs did, perhaps T-shirts with writing about a cause that we would believe in. Oh, I think we'd be in trouble.
I guess part of it would depend on what we were protesting, right?
Well, in this state.
Skin color might not be as pertinent. If we're on the, you know what I'm saying, the side of the other skin color, then 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Half dozen. Well, at this point, because it has people. I figured out something.
What's that?
So years ago, Crayola Crayon had this commercial. And part of it was, nobody orange, but nobody knows why. Now we do.
Nobody, what is it? Nobody loves orange.
Nobody likes orange,
Okay.
but nobody knows why. And now we do.
And now we do.
It was kind of like a teaser ad, just really extended.
Have you seen the front runner for the Academy Awards this year, The Power of the Dog? Have you seen that?
I have not.
I have to be completely honest and say that so far I have not found anyone who shares my view on this film, but I could not get through it. I didn't just watch 10 minutes and then turn it off. I was like an hour 20 into it. It's over 2 hours. Yeah, and I was like, I finally just tapped out. I was like, nothing about this interests me. I don't care about any of these characters. And and here we are. It got 12 Oscar nominations. It's the front runner for Best Picture, for Best Director, which would be
the story?
Second. Oh, it's kind of a Western, but not really. I mean, it takes place, I guess, on a sort of a ranch. So there's cowboy hats and there's horses. If that makes it a Western, I'm not sure. It's kind of a coming of age thing. Benedict Cumberbatch is not Doctor Strange in this one. He is a kind of a bigoted, kind of a Clint Eastwood kind of guy, and it's a coming of age. I don't want to give anything away, but it's a sort of a coming of age about this young boy, and yeah, it's 12 nominations. Benedict Cumberbatch is nominated for Best Actor, and Jesse Plemons for Supporting Actor, the other kid for Supporting Actor, Kirsten Dunst for Supporting Actress. It's just a big love fest, and it's directed by a woman, by Jane Campion, who, do you remember The Piano with Holly Hunter, where she directed that, Jane Campion. And it's kind of this, for me, it's kind of the same ballpark as The Piano. It's just, I found it tedious. And I'm not saying don't watch it, because everybody's loving it, and it's, like, as I said, it's, the front runner to win the Oscar for Best Picture. But I'm sorry, it's this year's Nomadland for me. If you remember,
I was trying to remember you talking about a film that you just could not watch. Did you see Licorice Pizza?
I have seen Licorice Pizza. I liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it. I normally don't like his movies that much, Paul Thomas Anderson. I liked Boogie Nights quite a bit. I liked Hard Eight, which was before Boogie Nights, quite a bit. Pretty much everything after that. Magnolia is good. This, I think, has the same problems that all of his movies have. It's way too long. It's disjointed. Some of the scene, the scene with Bradley Cooper is just, why is this in the movie? The scene with Sean Penn and Tom Waits, it's like, why is this in the movie? But I liked, the leads I thought were pretty appealing. They're nice, they're not actors, and they were pretty good, pretty naturalistic. And what'd you think?
I've yet to see it.
You've yet to see it. Okay. I see. I don't want to dissuade anybody from seeing it. It's good.
It's just not your cup of tea, but it might be. Obviously, it's other people's.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say that. I did enjoy it. It's. I think this was such a bad year for movies. I really do, because nothing. I couldn't tell you. This is the first time ever I could not tell you what my favorite movie of the year was. It's usually easy. It's like, oh yeah, definitely this one. I could probably tell you my top 3 or 4. But this year, I'm like, I liked Nightmare Alley. Didn't love it. I liked Licorice
Did
Pizza.
you see the new Spider-Man?
That's probably my favorite movie, and it shouldn't be. It's because it's great. It does everything it's supposed to do. It makes the fans so happy. And
the surprise part that we don't give away.
Oh no, it's way past time for spoilers. Everybody knows who's in it and everything. They're even in the trailers now. It's fine. Okay. We can discuss it. We can talk about it.
That was fun. That was just straight up good old fun to have them.
The scenes with the 3 Spider-Men, the 3 Spider-Man actors are fantastic. And they could have just relied on the fact that it's all 3 Spider-Men. It's like, oh, see, this will make you happy. But instead, those scenes are really written well. They work towards the strengths of those particular Spider-Men, and they serve to further the plot, too. They're pushing the Tom Holland Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Peter Parker, through his character arc.
Yes.
So yeah, I loved it. I really did love it. I just kind of feel like I shouldn't say a superhero movie is my favorite film of the year. It just seems kind of...
Why?
Kind of low.
Why not?
I think I'm smarter than that. No, I'm kidding. It really is good. It's hard to.
Sometimes you just want to be entertained.
And it's entertaining too. I think it's really, there's emotional stuff in it that you wouldn't expect. People who are like, oh, it's just a comic book movie or a superhero movie or whatever. But there's some real, the dilemma that he faces towards the end is, is
legit. Pretty
legit, yeah, and it's emotional. I cried. I don't care. I'll tell the world. I cried the first time, not every time. I'm not.
Just once, man. People, I'm telling you, I only cried once.
Oh, that's psychotic. Now, have you seen Being the Ricardos?
I have not.
Okay, it's Aaron Sorkin, so it's bullshit.
Yes, I know.
Okay, and it's about
Being the Ricardos.
It's about Lucy and Desi, and the making. It's specifically about this 1 week period when they're taping this one episode of the I Love Lucy program, right? And there's 3 major things that happen during this time. I'm watching the movie, and it's Aaron Sorkin, so he loves to play with the truth a bit. And I get to the end, and I'm like, wait, is that really what happened? And I went online, and of course, it's not exactly what happened. He condenses, first of all, the main things that go on. The main things in the Lucy Desi. If it was a straight biopic, these would be like the big things. When she was accused of being a communist, when she had the baby on television, and how that changed TV and stuff, and Desi's cheating on her and all that stuff, how that made the news. But the movie gives the impression that it's all happened in 1 week, and it didn't. It happened over several years. But there's good things in it. I'm not hating on it completely. It's way too long. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes, which is tedious. But Nicole Kidman plays Lucille Ball, right? And I guess she's got some sort of prosthetic on her jaw, like to make her jaw square or something. But that and her, let's say, bountiful cosmetic surgery give her face this real uncanny valley kind of thing for me.
Lucille Ball should be played by Deborah Messing.
Who's that? Oh, from Will and Grace? Oh, okay. Yep. All right. Well,
to me, that's just the natural. And Nicole Kidman is a wonderful actress. I just don't know if I could go there. That's my deal.
She's really, really good in the I Love Lucy segments because they recreate some particular scenes, right? And she mimics her. It's like really spot on. I mean, I got to give her credit. It's eerie, it's really eerie how she gets the pitch of the voice, and the mannerisms. It's she's got videotape to look at. But she did, no problem with that, with her performance. But like I said, her face just. You're familiar with the Uncanny Valley?
No.
So the Uncanny Valley is I guess it's a hypothesis that people have an emotional response to things that are, the closer something gets to being human, we have the more emotional response to them. But once it gets to a certain point that's not quite human, but close to it, it gets really unsettling. Like CGI of people, sometimes like the eyes just don't look right. So it gives you like an unsettling feel, like it's not, it's not human, or like a really super lifelike doll, but it's a doll. There's just that.
They're creepy.
Right. So they refer to that as the uncanny valley. I guess that the distance between the acceptable close to human and the part that just freaks you fuck out. And I guess the theory is that it's like an evolutionary thing that we learned. With Nicole Kidman, her face just gives me a very unsettling feeling. And I shouldn't be thinking that during the movie.
Sometimes it's just hard.
Yeah, it's I wish it.
But she is. I mean, she's an incredible actress.
Sure. Oh yeah, no problem. No problem there.
Sometimes there are just things we can't get past.
It's too bad, if you look at her early movies, she's just a beautiful woman. She had freckles, but she looked like a person. And then she started chiseling away, and then you're left with. To me, it's really sad because I think she would still be beautiful had she stayed
natural.
Natural, thank you. Yes, I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. But House of Gucci. Did you see House of Gucci?
No.
Okay.
I do know all about it though.
You do, yeah.
I just don't get to see very many movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that one's only theatrical. I don't think it's on streaming at all. That was the big surprise in the Oscars, is that was completely snubbed. Completely no. Lady Gaga was supposed to be nominated, Best Picture possibly. Jared Leto, who actually did get a Razzie for his role in, he got a Razzie nomination, for his role, and well deserved. It would have been cool if he'd gotten an Oscar nomination too. He would have been one of only a couple, I think, actors who have done that. Gotten a Razzie and an Oscar nomination for the same role, which is pretty exciting. Yeah. But the accents are so awful. The Italian accents, nobody can do an accent. Everybody says it's me. They sound like Pasquale, the chef from Chuck E. Cheese, right?
I don't know about the chef.
Cheese. Okay. Yeah, it's the spicy meatball. But yeah, so speaking of the Razzies, though, the Razzies created a new category this year, strictly for Bruce Willis. Do you know about Bruce Willis's prolific output? I know about this because the theater in which I work for the last couple of years, we've been playing these movies. Bruce Willis is ostensibly the star. I mean, if you look at the poster, it looks like he's the star. But they're super cheap movies, and they're basically theatrical dumps. They dump it in a theater they rent a theater for a week. They dump it in there so it goes to Redbox for a rental. And you look at the covers of all these movies. I think he did 8 this year, maybe 12 this year, something like that. 12 over the last 2 years. A lot of movies. And it's kind of like a scam new subgenre that's been invented. It's not uncommon for like washed up stars to do bad movies. It's like you got to keep working, right? And if nobody's offering you a good movie, it's like you take bad movies. This is a different thing, though. This isn't like Nicolas Cage does that a lot. John Cusack, John Travolta. You'll see those guys.
Think Bruce Willis would need to work if he invested properly.
You wouldn't think so. I don't think, he only had the one marriage, and I don't think he's paying Demi child support or anything, or alimony anymore. Demi, excuse me. But so these are different, though. These are movies that, the guys are low effort in the first place, but these are low effort times 10. And from what little I'd seen of them, I sort of figured out this thing. And it turns out I was completely right, that basically they hire Bruce at his rate of $1 million for a day's work. Okay. Their budget for the movie is probably $1,050,000. So the rest of that, the $50, is what the rest of the movie costs. So they're paying for Bruce. His scenes are all shot separately with no other actors. They're all close-ups. Anything that's not a close-up of him is a body double, like somebody like over the shoulder shot or something.
Okay.
They use a body double, right? So already it's such low effort, and his lines are fed to him through an earpiece right before he records them, so he doesn't memorize lines or anything. He could not get more low effort, and he gets paid $1 million, right? So he's just pumping these things out, and you can't tell one from the next. They're just awful movies. Really, really super low budget CGI. Anyway, so he's pumping these out, and the Razzies just gave him his own category. It's like worst performance by Bruce Willis in a Bruce Willis movie, and all 8 movies are nominated. But here's the thing. There's a rumor circulating, and it's only a rumor at this point. I mean, I suppose it will reach critical mass and someone will comment on it or not, but the rumor is that Bruce is in early onset dementia. And he's just doing either he's doing all these movies, either he's making the decision himself. You know, the alternative would be even worse to think of, but if he knows he doesn't have too much time left and he's just trying to cash in so that he can give money to his kids or whatever. So, you know, he makes 8 movies in 3 weeks basically, and there's his $8 million for the year. So the rumors come from somebody who's been on set. So I don't know. I mean, it would be really sad if that's the case. I mean, the alternative is he's just completely money hungry and doesn't care about his fans or anything or his legacy, because these movies are way below the level of a Bruce Willis movie. There's bad Bruce Willis movies like Hudson Hawk and stuff, but this is just so below anybody's involvement, really, that it's just really sad to watch. Funny on one hand because it's Bruce Willis, but it's sad if that is really the case, that he's, you know, on the way out.
That would be sad. That would be very sad.
Yeah, I don't wish that upon him.
No. So apparently, trying to flush documents down the loo.
Oh yes, well, there's the stolen documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago, right? Boxes and boxes of
15 thus far.
15, okay. Although
some even top secret documents, which is against the law. So why is this just not an open and shut, boom, let's go?
It's frustrating that I think it was CNN, their headline was, or maybe it was in the story, it was, of course, I get that you don't say stole because that's a legal term, and technically he hasn't been charged with a crime, so you can't say that he stole them. But they go so far overboard in the weasel words. It was the Trump team appears to have improperly removed the documents. Now, you don't have to say appears to improperly removed if you're already weaseling out with saying removed, improperly removed, right? There's nothing.
Boxed them up and took them out, which is against the law.
Right, which, and I understand that you can't say, you know, that you can't, I understand that you can't say that someone lied. You're opening yourself up for a lawsuit. I mean, even if they did, but they don't have to be layers of weasel words. You can say the boxes were improperly removed. There's no question about that. Okay, we know the rules, and they were not supposed to be in Mar-a-Lago. Okay, that part of it is not charging anyone with a crime. You don't have to say appears, because it's just maddening, because that isn't what happened.
Yeah, they appeared in Mar-a-Lago.
Right. Improperly. There's no question about that. The Milky Way bar was improperly removed from the grocery store. That doesn't mean you stole it.
And what does it mean?
Madison Cawthorn.
Oh.
Right? Wheelchair
yeah.
Tom Brady. The little. Well, first he found out that his wife was, a Russian honeypot, right?
Wait, what?
You didn't know about this? Yeah,
I just heard the last thing I heard, which was the media story, was she had agreed about him renting and blah, 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 But then all of a sudden, when he got in, they didn't realize how much time it was going to take and how much they would be separated and how much time apart. And so it just wasn't going to work.
Well, okay, I should say she appears to be a honeypot. I don't think that's been proven, but I think it's kind of accepted that she was, yeah. And she probably just bailed when she realized this guy's too stupid. He doesn't know anything. I've gotten every bit of information I can get from him. Time to go. But now the elections board is saying that they have enough that they can remove him from office because of the 14th Amendment, which is interesting. But they haven't said they're going to. They're saying that they could.
Oh,
so again, it could be a non-story, but they announced that they have the power to do it. I don't know what this means.
Oh, I had heard that they were trying to get so he couldn't run again, but I didn't hear anything about removing him from office.
Oh, you know what? You're probably right. I think, well, I guess I assumed that would also, if you say he can't hold office, then you would have to remove him too, wouldn't you?
Huh. I don't know. Which then still upsets me because then I think about JJ and how I actually went back and started reading articles about the Ohio State again.
Mm.
How he is not kicked out just sickens me.
Yes, it's kind of beyond the pale. And
Simone Biles showed up at the men's gymnastics meet here on Saturday, and I almost went, and then I did not.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
She showed up to root people on. Does she know somebody there? Or?
I don't know. We have a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
We traditionally have had. There was, 1984. 4 of the gymnasts on the team were from UNL, and then the 2 alternates were. And then one was very, very young and had some stuff go on. But yeah, 4 of the primary gymnasts on the United States gymnastics team for the Olympics were from the University of Nebraska. I was at a match where, and I think I've mentioned this before, the UNL, one school men's team, beat the Chinese national team and the Russian national team. I got to help hand out medals.
Nice.
So I got little cheek kisses from Russians and the Chinese team. Yeah, it was very cool.
Did you sneak off with one of the gold ones, or at least a bronze?
No.
Nobody's going to miss the bronze, right?
No, I just got to put them over their necks, and then they pull and give you a little kiss on the cheek.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
I started watching Sense8 a couple weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
Had an all-day binge watching, except for a little while when we had to go let another friend's dog out and play with the dog for a while. We got through 10 episodes.
What's the show?
Sense8.
Sense8. Okay.
SENSE, the number 8.
Okay. What is it about? I've not heard.
Might take a minute to get into it, but once you get into it, you're stuck. Okay, let me give a little bit. There are only 2 seasons.
Okay.
And part of that is because it was costing $9 million per episode in the second season. Because 8 people. One is in Dubai, one is in London, but from Reykjavik. So she's in both places at some point. One person in Chicago, Nairobi, Kenya, San Francisco. I don't remember where in Mexico. Okay, so wait, we have, Berlin. How many people is that?
I'm sorry, I didn't know I was supposed to be counting. Somewhere between 6 and 8, I would say.
Okay. Mexico, Kenya, and then some of these, you don't say the country because there are 2, which is India, Germany, US, England. I'm missing one. Who am I missing?
Reykjavik?
No, she's England. She goes up she's actually from, I have to think of my people. But they have casts, full casts, and filming crews in each of these locations to film it. Korea. Beijing.
Okay.
And then there are times where they are together, so you've got to fly this one person over and, whoever their crew is that goes with them. And then there's scenes where they're all together. But since Daryl Hannah's in it, Naveen Andrews. Daryl Hannah's kind of the mother. It's this thing, you have 8 people who were born on the same day, but they can sense each other.
Okay.
And so they're actually kind of sitting around each other, but the other person isn't physically there, but they can see them and they can sense them, and they can actually take over the other person's body in a way and help them out. And the stories are pretty cool. Yeah.
So it's a science fiction kind of thing, right?
I don't like that, but it's pretty cool. The guy in Chicago is the cop whose father had been a great cop, and there's these other things, and so he's known some. They had these weird things when he was young, but of course he didn't understand it. The gal in San Francisco, well, I shouldn't say gal, but is actually a transgender actress who has that role, and so they're kind of look at all of these different. They have some scenes that I think you would like, where they're all together, sort of.
They're in the all together?
They're all together.
All together. Okay, sorry. There's a difference there.
The guy in Mexico is an actor. He's like the studly leading man. He has his own secrets and stuff as well. They all kind of do. And that's the thing. They all have really good backstories. So these characters are fully developed, and they don't just throw it out at you right away. Yeah. All of the actors that they have in these roles are good. They just seem like genuine folks.
You say it's on Netflix, right?
Yes. So what are your thoughts on Joe Rogan? And I knew that I recognized him.
Joe Rogan.
But I couldn't place it. Fear Factor?
Yes, he was on Fear Factor. Before that, he was on News Radio. Do you remember that sitcom with Phil Hartman?
He was on that show?
He was on that. He was I think he was like the receptor. I think he played a dumb character. Surprise, surprise.
Well,
he was like the dumb guy in the office.
He have been there?
Yeah, no. He had hair, for one thing, so you might not recognize him. He had a full head of black hair. But I think he was like the dumb receptionist. That was the shtick. No, I think in a previous podcast episode, I railed against Joe, and he's only gotten worse. Yeah, so
awful.
he's promoting
Awful.
Anti-vaccine misinformation on his podcast. And Neil Young was the first guy who stepped up and said, I don't want my music to be associated with this, and asked Spotify to pull his music off. And they did. And then, not like the floodgates exactly opened, but a few people got on board. Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Also,
I'm surprised
the same. Joni Mitchell. India.re.
RE?
Mm-hmm.
Although she said she's doing that for that and other reasons, that they pay him $100 million in his contract, and they get 0.003% of a cent for their songs.
Oh yeah. Well, it's nobody should be on Spotify. I mean, they shouldn't have the money to pay Joe Rogan to spread his nonsense.
If it's that sad, that perhaps some of the others really should join in. And it's not about don't cancel him. You want to keep him, keep him. But this isn't where I choose to have my art.
Mm-hmm. They should be, the Joe Rogan station and not a music channel.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Joe. I used to listen to Joe, and the good thing about him used to be that he kind of played the bouncing board, the springboard or whatever. So basically he would have a guest on and he would have a conversation with them. Now, if the guest was interesting, it would be an interesting talk. And usually he would have scientists on. He would have Neil deGrasse Tyson on quite a bit. And they would have fun talks, He never would challenge Neil deGrasse Tyson on science. I mean, he wasn't
heavens no.
stupid enough to say, oh, I know more than you do about this. But then at a certain point, he started really going over to the side. I mean, he would have, quote unquote, controversial people on, people who had, like Jordan Peterson with his anti-trans stuff, and Ben Shapiro, and these people who had really crackpot ideas, and he would just let them kind of speak. And that was good, too, because it's like, okay, we're not here to listen to Joe Rogan. We're here to listen to whoever he's talking to. But then it became unbalanced, and he would have Bernie Sanders on, and then he'd have 50 of these stupid alt-right guys on. And the balance was completely lost. So, yeah, at some point he just kind of turned over into this when the anti-vax stuff started, it's just forget about it. And it's
Have you watched
I haven't listened.
Love and the Constitution?
I don't know what that is.
A feature documentary. Jamie Raskin,
Still drawing a blank. I'm sorry.
brilliant regarding the Constitution. He was one of the attorneys on first or second.
For the impeachment trials.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Then it was also, his family consisted of him, husband, wife, son, daughter. But his son had suffered from depression all these years, and he was accepted into the law school. When COVID hit, school closed down. He moved back home with mom and dad for a while, but was having issues. And it was right after Christmas, New Year's Eve. And his son left a note, love you, blah, a bunch of stuff. And so today, the disease won, and his son committed suicide.
Ooh.
Well, it was, the funeral was the 5th. Well, when they laid him to rest was the 5th, and he went in the 6th because he had a job to do. And then their daughter Tabitha went there that day when all this was going on, and everybody was really kind to him, of course. But he's so intelligent, knows the Constitution so well. But you listen and you watch him, and the man is just his person is just so, he's cute, he's darling, you want to be his friend, you want to be friends with that family because he's so unassuming and he is so intelligent and he cares so much about the people he represents, and he actually spends time with them. And it takes you through before it happened. They're just filming in the house. I mean, they're just with him. He's in a neighborhood parade, but he's in his suit. He wears a suit and tie, and he's in his dress shoes, and he's in this parade, but he's running, and he's handing out little copies of the Constitution. And he got home late from work, and it was Halloween, and he didn't have all the decorations up, and he's not paying somebody else to come in and decorate his house, and it's still light out, and he's just getting started, and he sees trick-or-treating. You're trick-or-treating already? Are you trick? I'm just kidding. Will you promise to come back? You should have to watch it. MSNBC.
Okay. It's a series then, right?
No. It's 2 hours. I want to say 2 hours. 2 or 3 hours.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and say it. You can say it.
2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
creature void of form, been so afraid of everything. I need a chance to be reborn. I never wanted anything that someone had to give. I don't live here anymore. I went along with think about the old days, babe. You're always on my mind. I know it ain't like I remember. I guess my memories run wild. Like when we went to see Bob Dylan. We danced to Desolation Road. But I don't live here anymore. But I got no place to go. Getting like a heart, I'm gonna walk through every doorway I can stop. I need some time, I need control. My memories like waves. Is life just dying in slow motion? Or getting stronger every day? I never took our love for granted. You never left me wanting more. But you never recognized me, baby.